Some people look at that and chalk it up to the grumblings of the powerless. That's the idea that when you have a power disparity, the less powerful sort of has this general society given leeway to complain about the more powerful. The villagers complaining about their king doesn't have the same ring as the king making snide and crude comments about the villagers. But that's not what's going on here. Because although certain segments of our society refuse to believe this, even as evidence mount before our very eyes, in one side of the political aisle,
women
actually have greater power than
men.
That is the truth that is not being acknowledged by the people that need to hear it, because this gets in the way of them wielding that power in the way they want, malignantly. I've heard from somewhere that politics is downstream of culture, and I think that is certainly correct. We have a mainstream culture that tells us it's okay to hold prejudice and hateful view of
men.
And our politics is then infused with this energy, and we see active, overt, and on the books
Sexist
discrimination of
men
that those who are perpetuating this hatred is refusing to see as discrimination. They'll say, no, 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 this is remediation. These are the same people who are making tenuous arguments that some of our gender-neutral laws discriminate against people.
Women.
And this is certainly evidence that in one side of the political aisle,
women
have more power than
men.
Because if we didn't have the power, we wouldn't be able to put into place practices and policies that does this. That's what power is. Things like one of many instances of liberal colleges doing the utmost to exclude and ostracize
men. Code is equal no men.
But they don't have the guts to say that, even though that is what that is. That's what makes us different than the mere grumblings of the common villager. The villagers have surrounded the palace, demanding Marie Antoinette's head. The power dynamics have shifted. That is a fact. Progressive media outlets do not cover these stories. Some people out there have no idea that this is going on. But worse, some others out there know but agree with what's going on. And for those people to convince themselves that this is not
sexist
discrimination, they play mind tricks and word games. They use phrases and talking points like punching up, you can't be
sexist to men,
you can't oppress the oppressor, meaning I'm acting oppressively, but I've designated you as the oppressor, so everything goes. Or Abraham X. Kennedy's infamous words, the only way to remedy past discrimination is current discrimination. Or when people say things like, what we're doing to
men
is not
sexism.
It's prejudice plus power, and we don't have the power. They use all this mind-bending apparatus to delude themselves into believing what they're doing faces no moral quandary. But in the back of their minds, perhaps in their subconscious minds, is
sexism.
Revenge. We experienced it, you experienced it too. See how you like it.
Women.
Using our newfound power to act this way and then pretend like none of this is going on leads me to believe that we would have done the same thing that
men
did were we to be in their historical position. Because such acts have its roots in human nature, not
men.
Nature. And one can only imagine what might happen in the coming decades when the demographics of the US will have shifted such that
men
will no longer constitute the majority, when the younger generation you've just seen have graduated from elite schools and hold positions of power in our institutions, our government, corporations, entertainment, news media, and so forth, how they might, in wielding the levers of society, be able to rationalize, using their adult brain, the hatred that was embedded in their minds during their adolescence. What we're seeing is just the beginning. To the
men
who are watching, I just want to say, you are not an oppressor for refusing to accept an ideology that teaches people to hate you, that teaches you that you are inherently bad, that your children are inherently bad, that you are inherently
sexist
no matter what you do or how you think, that you need to repent by taking affirmative steps in your life to redress harms that your ancestors may have done, or the
sexist
actions of other
men.
In fact, you are not an oppressor, period. You did not choose to be born
men,
just like any of us did not choose to be born in our
sex.
And to ask of you, at the individual level, for example, to give your life in service of
women,
to be used as physical barriers at protests, to give away your house to
women
instead of your children, all actual things that have been publicly demanded of
men.
To ask this of you is morally reprehensible collective punishment. You are not under any obligation to carry yourself in any sort of way that others demand of you just because of
type of genitalia.
This, you need to do this and you need to do that because you benefit from privilege thing is bogus. It is just a way for people harboring
sexist
animus to attack you, to say that the accomplishments you've achieved in your life isn't yours, and to silence you. It is not you. It is this ideology that is wrong and perverse. It is one cloaked in a shroud of pseudo-justice and self-righteousness, all the while excreting toxic fumes of
Sexist.
hatred. It blames all
Men.
for the actions of their ancestors, something you have no control over, while absolving
Women.
of personal responsibility for their own individual actions by holding that
Women.
commit acts of harm, for example, towards another community. That's the fault of
Patriarchy. Men.
controlling them like puppets on a string. It's a backwards, transgressive ideology. If you don't harbor any hate in your heart but want to fight it as a matter of principle, this does not make you
Sexist.
or bigoted. If you refuse to accept their premise in your head but are too afraid to voice your opinion, you're neither a coward nor a bad person. If you're of a liberal bent, but there's a small corner in your brain telling you as you're watching this video that perhaps some of this is wrong, listen to your intuition. Maybe you think, oh, I agree with most of what the progressive left teaches about racial justice, but just not with some of this disagreeable stuff, only at the extremes. I'm here to tell you that the rot starts at the core. This
Sexist.
hatred of
Men.
is a natural outgrowth, part and parcel of an ideology that attempts to indoctrinate us into believing that there is current systemic oppression going on, that all
Sex.
disparities we see today is the sole result of oppression by
Men.
when there are other more plausible explanations to be had that these same people are silencing as impermissible hate speech. They're telling you, shut up, you'll take it, and you'll like it. But contrary to what they're saying, you don't have to take that. You can believe that the things that have been done in the past were morally wrong, as well you should, all the while believing that what is currently going on is also wrong, that we're going backwards,
Sexism.
that this is history rhyming with itself, the table is turning in an eye for an eye manner. As the great Mahatma Gandhi once said, an eye for an eye will leave the whole world blind. But those driven by hatred would sooner gouge everyone's eyes out than realize that true victory for
Women.
would have been having history record that when the power dynamics shifted, we treated
Men.
with a kindness that their forefathers may not have shown our forefathers. But now, it will say when we gained the power, we turned around and started doing some of the same stuff to
Men.
segregation, social ostracization, hatred sanctioned by government and law. And we're doing all of this while pretending like we're doing something valiant. We've missed our bus. But that doesn't mean that there can't be a course correction. So, to some
Women.
watching who are engaging in this sort of hatred, whether or not you're acutely aware, the same people that act like
Men.
the collective are not people, but rather some pernicious alien force that has come to invade the earth. With this video, I implore you to ask yourself, what are we doing to,
Men.
as some people love to say, do better?